I got audio. Sorry. It's my first time doing Facebook Live from my computer. So I've been talking for a couple of minutes and you have no idea what I said. But we're going to be talking about pickleball rules. I hope you could tell that by the USAPA IPF rule book that's sitting here. So maybe I now have all my technology. Now I have all my technology working. I said I go live on Facebook every single Tuesday night. I do a health and wellness show for people who are over the age of 40 who want to look and feel their best. So I'm real familiar with Facebook, but I'm a little technologically challenged with with YouTube. This is the first time I've gone live on YouTube from my home computer. So my name is CJ Johnson and my passion is sports. I love teaching pickleball. I'm glad you're here with me. Thank you so much for being a better pickleball community viewer. I'm glad you're here. And one of the reasons that I'm doing this show is because you've been asking some questions about pickleball rules. So I picked out 3 rules questions that have come up several times. I'm going to go through those with you. I'm trying to see if I can get your comments coming up here. And I'm having a hard time doing that. If I can get your comments up, I will answer questions live as well. But so in any event, let's get this kicked off. So one of the questions that came up recently, and it was from this is from Guess Who on YouTube. I don't know who Guess Who is, but thank you, Guess Who, for sending in this question. And what Guess Who was looking for, be it a he or she, was looking for an explanation of the USAPA rule 4B, and I think it's 4B, 6B out of the rule book. If you don't have a USAPA rule book, I am putting a link down in the show notes. They put out a great PDF. You could download it from them, or you can also, this one is a little bit older. You can get a copy like this as well. But so what is the rule that they're looking for clarification on? So this is what the rule states. So we want to go down and you take a look at 4B, 6B. When the team's score is even, and the example is 0, 2, and 4, the team's starting first server correct position is at the right or the even serving area. When the team's score is odd, the starting position is at the left or the odd court. And you'll notice that if you look up at the very top of this explanation, it's talking about doubles. The rules are slightly different in singles. I'm going to talk about that just a little bit. But this is a really great rule to be aware of because it's going to help you to know what your position should be on the court, as well as if you're a little bit more advanced and maybe you're doing some stacking. And so that's where both players are starting play on the same side. If you're not sure what stacking is, I've got a video coming up in a couple of weeks that'll be kind of the definitive guide to stacking. But you really need to be aware of this. So again, he asked for clarification on this. And I guess this is probably the simplest way that I can show you. Let's take a look, first of all, at the revision to the rules. Now, there is a new part in here where the court is divided into right, or it's called even, and left, it's called odd. And this is different because previously they were only called right and left. So if you're like me and you don't always know your right from left, you may have difficulty with this one. But now in the new rule book, this has been clarified a little bit. So the court is divided to right and left, odd, and even. And if we look at a pickleball court, that's exactly what it's going to look like. So the right side is the even side. The left side is the odd side. Okay? So here's the just kind of the further explanation to that particular rule is whenever you are on the right side of this court, if I'm playing and I'm the first server for that team, so I am calling the score 0-0-2, I'm starting the game. I am on the right side of the court to start the game, or the even side. Whenever my team's score is even, I should be playing from the right side of the court. Okay? Again, if you're starting your game on the right side of the court, whenever your team's score is even, I should be on the right side of the court. If that's the position I started in, whenever my team's score is odd, I should be on the left side of the court. One of my recommendations is, as you start to play, get comfortable. Try starting in the right-hand position, being that first server, and mentally start to focus on the score. Always asking yourself, is it even? Is it odd? Is it even? Is it odd? As you start to practice that, it's going to become easier and easier. So then as you become a better player and maybe you get into stacking, stacking will be very easy for you. When I play with my men's doubles partners, we generally stack. I am the first server. I'm on the right side of the court. I want the stronger forehand, which is generally the man that I'm playing with at my level. He's on the left side of the court. And so I know that whenever our score is even if we're stacking, I'm receiving on, or I'm on that right side of the court. If our score is odd, I'm on the left side. So hopefully that cleared that up just a little bit. If it didn't, you can leave a comment down below. Maybe somebody has a better explanation than I do. I'm sure somebody out there will definitely have one. Let me see if I can pull up comments. I'm not really sure why. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not really sure why I can't see the comments. Oh well, I can't. But you can certainly still leave your comments down below. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe? No. Oh well. All right, can't see the comments, but leave your comments down below. If you can explain that a little bit better than I can, that's great. Let's move on to the next one. This, I wanted to talk just a little bit about singles. So we talked about doubles in the service, and some of us don't always play singles. So I want to get over here to the singles. This was actually rule 4B5. And so if you're playing singles and the score is even, the serve is going to be made from the right side of the court. If the score is odd, the serve is going to be made from the left side of the court. So if you're not really used to playing singles, in singles, as a singles player, you only get one serve. So if I'm starting the game, it's 0-0, I'm going to serve from the right or the even side of the court. If I make the first point, we now move and I serve 1-0 from the left side of the court. If I don't win a point, my opponent now gets the serve. Their score is 0, so they start on the right side of the court. That's where they're going to serve to me, is from the right side of the court. So we change sides. If that person doesn't score and I get the serve back and the score is still 1-0, we move over and I serve on the left or the odd side of the court. So in singles, I serve from either the odd side or the even side based on my score. Okay, so that's where the service comes from on the single side. So little variation between that and the doubles. Hopefully that answers some of those serving questions. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I think that's the slide I got. This is from Nadine in Maine. And Nadine in Maine said, hey, when a player dives for the ball and they can't get back up to their feet, do they still get to play? Well, that's a pretty interesting question. The answer is almost all the time, yes. So here's a couple of things. If that player happens to be in the kitchen when they fell, they can still play as long as they don't volley. They have to let the ball bounce. If you are in the kitchen, you cannot volley that ball. You've got to let it bounce. It doesn't matter whether you're standing on your feet or laying on your butt. You got to let that ball bounce if you are in the kitchen. But there is no rule in pickleball that you have to be standing. In fact, Montpellier Pickleball, I love that. I'm going to put a link to this down below. He captured a game, and he does a lot of video of different pickleball players. So there's a lot of great video on there of matches. He captured a game where a player did just that. He fell on his butt. He was outside of the kitchen. And believe it or not, and I know sometimes we get hooked into this pattern, the people on the other side of the net kept hitting it back at him, hitting it back at him, hitting it back at him. I think he hit 3 shots from laying on the pickleball court. He finally managed to get himself up, and I think eventually 3 or 4 shots later, they won the point. So I am going to put a link down below in the show notes so that you can see that pickleball point, because even if it's not about rules, it was just a super fun point to watch. So make sure that you click on that. So Nadine from Maine, you don't have to be on your feet. The only thing you have to watch out is if you're in the kitchen, because the same rule applies to the kitchen, whether you're on your feet or if you're on your butt. Okay, so hopefully that one is good for you. Let's move on to the third and the final one. This is actually a rules revision and a rules change that just came up in January. Many of us play with nets that aren't permanent. We play with the portable nets, and you can see this picture. It looks probably pretty familiar to you. We've got that green horizontal bar that is running across. Now, previously, the rule stated that if the ball came over and it hit that bar, essentially the ball was still in play. The bummer to that is usually when the ball comes over the net, it hits the net, it takes a lot of speed off of it, and it kind of comes dribbling over the net. It's really difficult to play, or it gets caught up in the net and then hits the bar before it actually hits the ground. So generally, you couldn't play the shot anyway. So now there has actually been a change to that rule. So again, the old rule here is on the right, and it stated that if the ball struck that horizontal bar after going over the net, okay, after going over the net, that the ball was in play. Well, now that's kind of changed. If the ball, and you want to look at the underlying part here, if the ball goes over the net and hits the center base or the horizontal bar, or gets caught in between the net and the horizontal bar before it touches the court, it's a let, and it's going to be replayed. Okay? So hopefully, again, if it touches that center bar, if it touches the horizontal bar, gets caught up in the net, and then touches the horizontal bar before, key word here in the rule, before it hits the ground, it's considered a let, and the point will be replayed. I know there's been a lot of confusion in our club with this one, because that's kind of a pretty big change. Before it was like, oh well, we lost the point, you kind of go like this. But you need to be paying attention when it just climbs over, and if it hits that bar before it hits the ground, then you get to replay the point. So there's a little benefit for you, because now you know the pickleball rules, and that's rule 11.1.5. That has to do with the portable net system. So again, you can find these things in the USAPA rulebook. Let me bring that back up here for you. That's the 2018 USAPA rulebook. I'm going to put a link to that down below. I'll put a link to all of the things that we talked about. I'm sorry I can't see your comments. I'll figure out how to do that next time that I do a live over here on Facebook. But in the meantime, if you have any rules questions, make sure you put them down below. Oh, also one of the things in the bottom is going to be all the rules of revisions. So there's been a couple revisions, a couple clarifications. I know there's a big one on cleaning up the wording around serving. It really hasn't changed what we do inside of a pickleball serve, but it's kind of cleaned up the wording. I know there's a little confusion about that, so that's going to be a future upcoming video. But if you've got a couple more questions on the rules or on anything else, put it down below. That's how I come up with a few of these videos. So thanks so much for taking your time to visit with us today. Make sure if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel. That tells YouTube this content's important, and it allows me to keep making this content for you for free. And if you won't mind, get on my email list. I got lots of good things that come out on that email that aren't always on the YouTube channel. How to get fit, how to get healthy, how to play better pickleball, and some of the great resources that are out there in the pickleball world. Because together, we can train smart, live bold, and age well.